For more on the various potential impacts stemming from the tensions in the Middle East, I want to bring in our guest, William Cohen, former defense secretary and chairman and CEO of the Cohen Group. Good morning to you. As you were listening to Steve sort of play out those scenarios that economists are thinking about, how do your own scenario planning match up?
Well, I think the Iranians are going to do something. Former Secretary of the Pentagon, Don Rumsfeld, said there are known knowns and there are known unknowns. We know they're going to do something. We don't know what exactly it's going to be. My own guess is they will be very careful in calibrating whatever decisive move they make. I think they have to be very careful they don't overstep and make a big attack on the U.S. or our forces, because I think that President Trump, would then send overwhelming force against them. And then it sets off on a real war.
So does that preclude any physical attack? I mean, or would you put a cyber attack in the same category?
Cyber attack would be there. I think they'll do something more than cyber. But again, I think it'll be fairly modest and low level. At least if they're rational, they will act in that fashion. There's a second element in here, and that's President Putin. I believe that President Putin is going to try to step in and be the peacemaker here. He's already arranging meetings with President Erdogan of Turkey. He's arranging to meet with Angela Merkel of Germany. He's meeting with Macron of France. I think he's going to move in and say, let me help solve this problem for you, Donald.
But help him and elevate, not just elevate himself personally, but elevate Russia how? Well,
Russia has a big role in the region. They are a big supporter of Iran.
Right.
They don't want to see Iran destroyed. And so their goal would be, as the Iranian goal is now, get the Americans out of Iraq. That's something that the Iranians want. It's something that the Russians would be very happy with, just as they were with Syria. President Trump handed them the keys to Syria. They are now a major player in Syria and throughout the region. They're going to come to the rescue at some point on Iran as well. They're not going to want to see Iran destroyed. So I'm a little bit more optimistic that the Russians will come in as a peacemaker and say, we've got a deal for you. Iranians, you've got to make a better deal on controlling your nuclear facilities, a longer time frame, et cetera. But I don't see it spinning out of control. Anything is possible, but I think that the wiser heads are going to prevail here. The Iranians will want to get their amount of blood back in terms of striking the United States, but I don't think it'll be a major strike because they'd be inviting a much overwhelming strike against them.
Secretary Cohen, how much of all this is part of the sort of new politics of oil out there, where on the one hand, that region of the world matters somewhat less to us, at least economically. On the other hand, it looks like it's spinning more into chaos. So obviously those two things work against each other.
Well, it may not affect us directly in terms of the oil, but if you were to have a real conflict in the Middle East and the amount of oil that goes in and out of the Persian Gulf region, if that were to be stopped, the price of oil would dramatically increase, and that would affect the economies globally. So the United States might be okay, but when the economies worldwide are hit, we're not selling as much as our goods, and so you would have a real slowdown in the world economy. So even though we might be okay by having more oil and having it at a higher price, the rest of the world is going to be in much bigger trouble.
How do you think this changes the relationship with China? Does it?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
The relationship with China, does it? Does this situation change our relationship with China at all?
I'm still having hard hearing in my ear. Sorry.
I'll switch gears to the economic issue. I don't know if you had heard what Steve had said around the idea of oil. We have a view in the United States now that, given our own oil independence, that maybe Iran's oil is less important than it used to be. Does that mean that Iran's oil could be a target for us, or at least on the list?
Certainly on the list, sure. But again, I don't think it will get to that. I really believe that the Russians are going to come in and be the peacemaker, and I think they're going not want to see the entire region in a sea of flame. So I think that Putin is clever enough and has his interest in getting the U.S. out of there. The Iranians want us out of there, and now we have a situation where the Iraqis may want us out of there. I think that will be to their detriment. But the notion that the United States is going to stay, regardless of what the Iraqi people want, I think is that's folly. We're not an occupying force. We do not occupy land, and if they want us out, we will have little choice but to get out. Right.